So for example, I just read where it mentions that about Krishna, the dancing of Krishna, the devotees, or the ecstatic dancing of Mahaprabhu and his devotees, and Krishna Prem, and what we call Bhakta Bhav, the heart, devotional heart, mood, sentiment of devotees. And in this instance, it's saying all three are dancing: the Lord, the devotee, and Krishna Prem itself. So it means that we can't have some stereotypical thinking about these things. So when we say Krishna, use the word unrestricted, as Guru Maharaj told once, much to everyone's surprise, when he said Krishna's autocrat, despot, and liar. Right? So autocrat, autocracy, right, which is anathema in a world promoting democracy, but that the supreme being, the supreme infinite, the supreme reality should be denied autocracy is foolish. So Guru Maharaj, just to support that with some conventional local example, he mentions Hegel, saying reality is for itself and by itself. Right? So this is congruous with what is announced at the beginning of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Janmad yasya yaton vayad itaratas cha arteshu avigya swarat. Swarat means totally independent. Like, we see how much we value freedom in this world. Like, people think it's willing to die for. When you enter the Calcutta airport, Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose International, that's the name. A long name, Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose International Airport. There's a statue of Netaji when you came in one particular place, and it had one of his sayings at the base, and it said, "Give me your blood and I'll give you freedom." Right? So we know in this world, people are willing to die for freedom. They so much value it, right? The old American saying, "Give me liberty or give me death." So we believe that freedom is intrinsic to our existence, right? And intrinsic to our realizing, what do they say in America? The pursuit of happiness. Right? So, which is good. We'll say the pursuit of anandam, the ultimate happiness, the ultimate pleasure. So if we find it, that it's without it, we may not consider life worth living, then what to speak of the supreme entity and what type of freedom he enjoys? Right? If we accept the analogy of the sun and the sun ray, we being like the sun rays, Krishna, the supreme reality, having the magnitude of the sun. So there would be a magnitude of freedom. What would be the infinite magnitude of freedom? That would be autocracy. Right? So Saraswati Thakur uses this expression, the transcendental autocrat. Right? The transcendental autocrat. Vox populi is not vox dei. Right? So the implication being, the restrictions that are imposed on human beings and human society to regulate us, to help us live a progressive life, we accept certain constraints, restrictions, rules, regulations, moral code, many things for our own betterment and so that society can move in a progressive direction. We can't impose that on divinity. I think he'll follow the same restrictions we do. Why? What we're following is what is advised for conditioned souls, right? Conditional life. But in the unconditioned world, where there is no inebriating quality, there's no pollution, no contamination, no exploitation, no aggression, why should those who live in conditional existence, what to speak of the supreme entity, be constrained by the constraints, rules, regulations that regulate human civilization? Now, interestingly, we'll see Krishna has many avatars, incarnations, and some of them do play by the rules, right? Like Ramachandra and Ram Leela. Ram appears as a king. So what is called Rajniti, what's the, the rules, regulations governing emperors, kings, rulers. He's, because he's in the role of a king, he's accepting that. So here, the infinite is voluntarily accepting these type of constraints for his own pastimes, his own pleasure. But that means when it comes to the natural flow of love from the heart, that there's something left to be desired. Right? So that kingly position will check how he can behave and how others can behave, respond to him. This is why the Krishna conception is superior, because Krishna knows no rules, constraints. It's the ultimate, absolute, free flow of love from the heart. So he said, autocrat, despot, and liar. Autocrat means he exists for himself and by himself. Ultimately, he is everything. Right? Even we are told, Mameva angsa jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana, that jiva souls are part and parcel of Krishna. So when it comes to things, considerations like whether or not when Krishna has violated any moral code by his behavior with the Braja Gopis, that is mentioned, they all belong to him anyway. So it's not only that everything belongs to Krishna, we also belong to Krishna. So there's really, ultimately, even when he's playing the role of, you could say, an aggressor or transgressing some laws or stealing the property of others, really it's all a play because everything belongs to him. So autocrat followed by despot, an even more alarming sounding word Srila Guru Maharaj used, because he's saying despot means there should be no check on his autocracy. If we try to check the movements of divinity, then we become losers. So therefore he needs to be in the position of a despot. He's the absolute good. Everything he does is absolutely good for everyone. So there should be no check or restriction upon him. So despot. But then, Guru Maharaj told, liar. This was a little more difficult to digest. And we may point out it's not a conventional way of praising the Lord. You know, my dear Lord, You are an autocrat, despot, and liar. And I'm offering myself to you in service. So when we heard, all right, we get it. Autocrat, reality exists for itself, by itself. Despot, there should be no check on, because he's the absolute good. Everything he does is absolutely good for everyone. But one devotee said, but liar? And Guru Maharaj said, yes, because you're not ready to hear the truth. Like in the movie where the man goes, you can't handle the truth. So it's something like that. We can't handle the truth. What is part of that truth? That the ultimate reality, Krishna, he's appearing human-like, right? And human-like dimensions, proportions, tendencies, form. People think, well, I'm comfortable with an infinite that's greater than the greatest, all-accommodating, smaller than the smallest, all-permeating. But that the central conception of the infinite would be human-like. Right? And what would be the most superior position? As one is all-accommodating, all-permeating. What's the central conception of the infinite? All-attractive. Reality of the beautiful. That the ultimate reality is beauty, love, charm, and sweetness. So, Einstein's brain is blowing a fuse. Stephen Hawking, they can't conceive of a personal God. On a good day, they can think of God in terms of infinite. But if you're told, yes, these infinites, greater than the greatest, smaller than the smallest, all pervading, all permeating. But when it comes to all attractive, right, all loving, all affectionate, capable of reciprocating with every atom of every heart, of every soul, reciprocating love and affection to them simultaneously in varieties of loving relationships. This is inconceivable. But maybe we want an inconceivable God who does inconceivable things. Achintya Shakti. When Guru Maharaj asked Saraswati Thakur, one name of Krishna, Adhoksaja, right? And we see this is the theme, beyond the grasp of the mind and the senses. And when Guru Maharaj said, why two omniscients, Sanatana Goswami, Rupa Goswami, say two different things about the conclusion of Krishna Lila? Saraswati Thakur's answer, Adhoksaja. It's beyond what we can conceive. He said, should we retire that name? Should we retire the name Adhoksaja? We want to know every last detail, and nothing will remain unknown to us. And in the four corners of our puppy brain will accommodate the sum total of the infinite. That's not realistic. It's self-defeating. We want to go from finite perspective to infinite perspective. Right? Actually, we're the cause of limiting our own ability to conceive. Right? So we want to go from finite perspective to infinite perspective. So autocrat, despot, liar. Said, yes, so you'll have to be given the truth in installments. And Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur gives an example, though, of the liberating lying of Krishna Lila. That when Yashoda asked Krishna whether or not he's been eating earth, because his brother and the other children are complaining that he's been eating earth. And Krishna, as a little boy, said, you can look in my mouth and see if I'm eating any earth, if I've eaten earth. He opens his mouth, his mother looks in his mouth and she sees the earth planet. and the solar system and the Milky Way and innumerable universes. And in the midst of so much motherly affection, she momentarily, for her, this is like a hallucination. And for her only, maybe momentarily, Aiswarja Gyan, knowledge of Krishna's majestic aspect, the majestic aspect of divinity, temporarily checks that natural motherly flow of love. Then we hear a cow goes meow, and Krishna grabs his mother's sari for protection. Right? And then she's saying, yeah, my boy. And then she thinks what she saw before, some type of a hallucination. So, who was told in the beginning, Svarat, that he's totally independent? He reveals later in the same book, Ahang Bhakta Paradino Hyaspan Tantra Ivadvija, Saruvir Bhakta Hridayo Bhaktayar Bhakta Janapriya. He says, although I am totally independent, and I'm not dependent upon anything, and I'm not regulated by anything, in the presence of devotion, it's as if I lose my independence. The Krishna Bhakti, Sri Krishna Karshini Chasa, the love and devotion and affection in the heart of a devotee. A tiny finite soul. We said the infinite magnitude of the sun and the sun ray. So the tiny jiva, but this substance is so valuable. A drop of devotion in the heart of a devotee is capable of capturing all attractive Krishna. And he admits personally, it's as if I lose my dependence, my independence. So Guru Maharaj said the measure of devotion is when the infinite comes under the control of the finite. That is devotion. The infinite comes under the control of the finite. Inconceivable of inconceivable things. But that's the power of devotion. What is devotion? Real love and affection for the Supreme Being. Not awe and reverence, but genuine love and affection. The natural flow from the heart that's not based upon his majestic aspect, but him personally. So, this is a mysterious thing. So what was the question about regulating? What was it? You don't remember what it was? All right. Pardon me?
She is repeating to Priyanana to translate.
No, I mean the gist. Anyway, I think we dealt with it.
So how to adjust that Krishna is independent and at the same time devotion can capture him? That was the question.
What do you mean, how to adjust?
Maybe that's the wrong word. I mean, how to conceive these things.
I think I just spoke about that.
Yes,
All right. I just- But we should be careful not to impose finite conceptions upon the infinite. That we should say. We have some limited experience of the limited, and on the basis of that, we're going to impose some sort of restrictions upon the infinite. That's self-defeating, self-deluding.